Hey guys, welcome back to the AspieWorld. So today we're going to be doing a video on autism and video games. So basically we're going to cover the relationship between autistic people and video games, some studies that have been done, and some opinions from people and general discussion on the topic. So I had a flood of comments from you guys on YouTube asking me to do videos on a ton of stuff, and Aspergers and video games was one of the ones that I actually thought was a good idea to do first, so this is why I made the video. So the relationship between autism, Asperger's and video games. Basically, it's quite popular for autistic people and people with Aspergers Syndrome to be totally obsessed with video games. Basically playing video games constantly, having quite an obsession over certain video games. Some video games like this, a lot of children like to play Minecraft and Pokemon and things like that, but it's not just certain video games, it's just video games in general. That relationship is basically that a lot of people say that people with autism are obsessed with video games, and it becomes almost like an obsession, which is potentially an unhealthy obsession or potentially a good obsession. For me, growing up as a young boy, I played a lot of video games. I was really into video games because it was a way for me to kind of just sit in the house and be with my things, and I don't know why I really liked video games. It was just something that I was really into, and I figured that it was just something that everybody was into. But maybe it's not something that every child is into, maybe it's just something that is quite obsessive for people with autism. So basically there have been a ton of studies done on this subject, like video games and Asperger's or video games and autism. So I'm looking at a study from the NHS website, which I will link below in the description if you want to go check it out. They pulled up a test where they tested a bunch of kids with autism and a bunch of kids without autism, and they found that people with autism had a larger obsession with video games and would spend at least 1 hour more per day than neurotypical children playing video games. And this would lead to what they would call an addiction. And to quote them on a comment, they said, "Children with autism or ADHD spend twice as much time playing video games and are more likely to become addicted to them," which is crazy because I don't think people get addicted to video games. I think that it's just something that they do as a way to relax, maybe. So the study showed that people with ASD and ADHD actually had a higher access to video game equipment in their rooms. So where they tested a bunch of kids, obviously neurotypical children and ASD children, it was found that the ASD children had more technology that would allow them to play video games in their room, but they also spent an hour more per day than the children who were on the typical list. One positive they did say is that children on the autism spectrum would favour more role-play games and more fantasy games rather than the classic violent shoot-'em-up games, where the neurotypical kids would be more interested in violence and shoot-'em-up kind of army games, which is quite interesting really. So the article also says that video games, in spite of their bad reputation, may actually help children with autism and ASD improve a range of cognitive skills. I know there's a bunch of tests done where people who would play video games for longer hours had better cognitive behavior than a person who didn't play any video games at all. The people who are obsessed with it or play longer hours, and maybe their brain is wired a little differently, like the case with ASD, it may actually help cognitive development and other types of development in children, which they would maybe missing from a social situation if they have ASD. So the opinions on it, okay, so for me, I don't think people get obsessed with video games. I feel like video games are a tool that will help children with autism become more able to socialize and interact with other people. It may help them with, other kinds of social skills and cognitive behavior. And I think it's not a bad thing. I think it's a way for children with ASD to access greater puzzles that they may feel comfortable doing, because it exercises their brain in ways that maybe they're unstimulated in day-to-day life, which is very important with people with Asperger's and autism, because they need that challenge of information and data, which is maybe intellectual, it could be a puzzle or scientific. It just needs to be there for them to exercise their brain in a way which they may not be doing normally. I would say that children with ASD who do play video games probably are more relaxed because they are enjoying what they're doing, and there's nothing wrong with that. And again, if they're favouring more softer games rather than these hard kind of shoot 'em up, kill, violent games, then I don't think there's really much issue there from me. My partner, who works with children on the autism spectrum daily as a profession, she actually said that video games actually help people with autism become more socially aware, and they kind of learn from games because games are already programmed like a neurotypical person playing the game, so the games actually teach the children something that they may not have actually had before. So guys, I'd like to know your opinions on Asperger's, autism and gaming. Is it addictive? Is it bad for them? let me know if you have any positives to add to this, if there's anything else you think that would be a benefit from playing video games, and basically just general ideas. I'd like to know them in the comments in the comment section below, because I read every single comment. If you'd like to learn more about autism and Asperger's syndrome, please hit the subscribe button and you can get all my latest videos on the subject. Please check me out on Patreon if you'd like to support my channel, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace. So we're going to talk about children who enjoy Halloween and children who may not enjoy Halloween as much, and some tips and tricks that may actually help you overcome this holiday season stress-free. So I compiled this list using information I gained from my partner, who is